Just a moment. There we go.
Okay, very good. We'll call the Rules Committee meeting to order. If we could please have a roll call.
Freeman.
Aye.
Fusco.
Aye.
Homobian.
Aye.
Connor.
Aye.
Malik.
Aye.
All committee members are present.
Okay, I have a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, very good. We have one item on the old agenda, I believe, and this is from last week. Ms. Samples, would you like to address us again?
Yes, briefly. We don't have to read it in again, do we? We don't have to do that.
We read it in last week.
Okay. So just briefly, this piece of legislation is derived from the Crown Act, which we had a resolution for earlier this year, which stands for Creating a Respectful and Open World for Natural Hair. As of July this year, 23 states have introduced the Crown legislation. Our hair and its natural texture is a race-based trait and is an important addition to the body of law aimed at securing equal treatment and equal protections for all, regardless of hair. I do believe that such legislation is needed until Congress recognizes that this needs to be passed on a federal level. And it is important to us in this legislative space to continue that push to make sure that they do that in every state in our nation, one state at a time, one municipality at a time. And I ask for its passage. I have spoken with my co-sponsor, Rich Swartzky, and he did tell me to just move forward with it. We're not sure when he's going to be back, so he wanted me to move forward with it.
Okay, very good. Questions or comments we'll begin with committee members. Have a question or comment? Yes, Mr. Malik.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to, echo Ms. Samples. I think this is a really important piece of legislation. And I think, sorry, the Alexa, sorry. Anyways, I think it's particularly notable that, when we passed the non-discrimination ordinance several years ago, I know a lot of the focus was on sexual orientation and gender identity because that was the thing that isn't protected at the state level. But I think it's worth noting that this commission has evolved and is able to, has heard claims on a lot of different protected classes, including race, and that this is an additional kind of discrimination that often is a pretext for race. And so the fact that this commission can help in this area where the state and the federal government is lacking, I think is very helpful. And I believe Chairman Brantley from the Civil Rights Commission, I think is going to join us this evening and is supportive. So just want to, offer my support, especially for their role in this process.
Very good, thank you. I'm looking to see if I have any other raised hands. I do not see any.
See that Councilman Fusco has his hand raised.
Okay, Councilman
Thank you. I was
Fusco.
looking for it officially on the on the Zoom site. Don't see it, but no, just a couple questions in terms of what would be the procedures? Are there penalties? In terms of a business, and I think I understand the intent behind it, and I absolutely support that. But just curious, what would be the outcome? What would be the procedure?
I do know John is on it with us as well. I do know that it will go through the commission. My understanding from reading it, it will go through the commission, just like the other procedures, the process and procedures go through them. It would start. And so I don't know if John wants to add to that.
Sure. I could speak to that, Councilwoman Samples. Yeah, this wouldn't change any of the existing procedure in Chapter 38. This would be another prohibited type of discrimination. So just generally what happens is complaints are filed with the Akron Civil Rights Commission, and then the commission investigates the complaints. And if there's found to be reasonable cause to support the complaint, they can have a hearing. And then if the hearing shows that there was discrimination, penalties can be imposed. So all of that would be just the same, unchanged.
What are the penalties then?
I believe there's monetary penalties. I believe they can order, for instance, someone to get their job back. To give you more of a detailed answer, I'd have to actually look at Chapter 38.
Thank you. I am supportive. Just asking some questions here to. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other comments or questions?
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if you can see, Councilman Malik has his hand raised and Councilman
Okay.
Kilmer.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Malik, or who, see, Mr. Malik spoke. Who else was wanting to speak?
Councilman Kamer also has his hand raised.
Okay, Councilman Kamer, there we go. I can see you now.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have actually two questions. One, I don't know if this is more geared towards John York or the sponsor, but in the legislation under 29, real estate transaction, I kind of want to learn more about that in regards to many board of realtors throughout the country have their own procedures in regards to discrimination. And I don't know if we've reached out to the Akron Board of Realtors or how that procedure would work in regards to this committee.
We could probably discuss that, afterwards. Like I said earlier on, as far as the penalties go, as far as real estate transactions, I'd have to read the code again, read Chapter 38, and then see if I could answer the question that you have.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. My second question was, I did read through the legislation, and I was just wondering if there was another ethnic background that had maybe natural hair, if it was curly or whatever, in regards to their safeguardings, if there's anything, if they feel discriminated against, or does this cover that?
I don't know if you want to speak to that, John, but from my research, it would cover that. There are places where people who are Native American have faced those issues as well. I'm not sure if it covers someone. My grade already hit the mute button, I'm sorry. I don't know if the Civil Rights Commission maybe can.
Councilwoman, there's some music playing in the background, I think.
I'm babysitting today, excuse me. I think some of these questions the Akron Civil Rights Commission could answer. I think that hair discrimination would be hair discrimination if it can be proven regardless of the race of the person. I mean, if they have blue hair or pink hair, I'm thinking that they file a complaint with the Akron Civil Rights Commission. I'm sure that they would be investigating that as well.
Anything else, Mr. Kamer?
No, that's it. I just would like to, being a former real estate agent and some of the knowledge I have in that background, I don't know if that is something that, we as a city look at, and then also if we're contradicting what they do also. So 29 is a little concern for me. I just want more clarity on that. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And now I think Shamus will come to you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, just following up, I think, on Mr. Fusco's question, I think also bears on Mr. Kamer's question. I think this might be an opportunity for, the Civil Rights Commission to come back before us and talk a little bit more about the ordinance and their process. I think Mr. York can correct me, but I think they've mostly gone through investigations and mediations, but haven't necessarily had hearings. But I think it would be helpful for them to come in. And I know they submit a report, I think twice a year, but I think that it would be helpful if we had sort of the broader discussion, because this, affects one little definition, but I think the whole process would be something that it's better if we all learn more about.
Thank you. I'm looking for any other hands. Yes, Mr. Fusco?
Yes, thank you. I would support Mr. Malik's proposal if the sponsor is okay with that, just to perhaps bring in Mr. Lee and whomever else and have a good discussion here at the committee level. Even next week would be good, I think. And then again, I'm in support. I think I understand the intent. I just want to understand some of the nuances. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And also, Ellen has sent us something in our Zoom chat as it relates to the penalties under Chapter 38, if you all would want to read through that. Thank you for that, Ellen. And I'm fine with taking a week's time. I'm fine with that.
And then would you maybe with the clerk, would you be able to coordinate Mr. Lee, and we could have those discussions maybe next week?
Sure.
That'd be all right with the sponsor?
Oh, yeah, that's fine. That's
Okay.
fine. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, very good. Okay, so I think what I've heard is we will continue to take time.
Yeah, I'll make a motion for time.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, motion for time. All in favor of time, please let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, very good. All right, we will take time and revisit this next week. And if we have nothing else to come before us, we will adjourn at 3:03 p.m. Thank you.
Our next committee of the day is the Budget and Finance Committee. Those council members are Freeman, Homovian, Malik, Baylor, and Lombardo. And we can get started whenever you're ready, Mr. Chair.
Okay, very good. We'll call the Budget and Finance Committee meeting to order. Do I have, if I could please have a roll call, Sarah?
Sure. Freeman,
Aye.
Homovian,
Aye.
Malik,
Aye.
Baylor,
Aye.
Lombardo.
Aye.
All committee members are present.
Okay, very good. And a motion to accept the minutes from the last committee meeting?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion, a second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you. Okay, we just have one new piece, and I'm going to ask Sarah if you could go ahead and read that in for us.
Sure. Ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent or his designee to enter into a contract or contracts with Advanced Robot Solutions to purchase software services and kiosk hardware equipment at the Akron Municipal Court and declaring an emergency.
All righty. Mr. Fricker, will you be speaking?
No, Montrella Jackson.
Oh,
from-
Montrella. Very good. I'm sorry. Yes, Ms. Jackson.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, council members. I am pleased to present this proposal to you today. I'm very excited about the possibilities. It would provide a self-help, self-service kiosk in the entrance of the Akron Municipal Court. This kiosk uses the AI technology, and it would help make us even more remote, which in the last few months, that's been our goal. So this project is funded, totally funded, grant funded. The software is funded by the Ohio State Bar Foundation, and the hardware is funded by the Huntington Foundation. I've also invited Mr. Paul McManus from Advanced Robot Solutions, it's his technology, his company, to the meeting to kind of help answer any questions, because this is so advanced, I can't even explain it. So,
All right, Mr. McManus, welcome. And maybe if you could just give us kind of a 30,000-foot overview of exactly what the kiosk and whatnot's going to accomplish for us.
Sure. Thank you very much. And thank you for the opportunity. Working with Montrella, we're going to have a self-service kiosk that's going to be at a main entrance location. It'll be able to, has an avatar face on it. We can put a male, female, diversity as far as the avatar's face. So there'll be a screen. The kiosk will recognize that there's a person in front of it, and they'll say, "How can I help you?" We're going to have a focus on traffic violations as well as evictions, which understanding with Montrella, that's a big self-service area, or a big area that needs help with processing. At that point, and let's say that the person needed to do something else, the avatar will program it to answer other questions, as wayfinding questions and basic self-help as it relates to the court. At that point, let's say somebody had a traffic violation, the front kiosk in front of the elevator will direct them downstairs, and we're going to have 2 self-service stations that are going to be COVID safe. They're going to be separated. There'll be smaller kiosks, and they're connected to the larger kiosks. And we'll work on the forms as well as all violation forms, traffic and eviction forms. We'll work with Montrella and her team. And what we do is we program the various questions, the repeated questions that come again and again, and we'll help sort through and direct those people on how to self-service themselves. And then the way the AI gets smarter and smarter through use. And then there's also the ability that, let's say you needed to remote live into some remote help. The person at the main kiosk or at the substation kiosk will be able to connect to somebody within the building or even at a remote location with live telepresence, much like we're doing now. So I think that's the 30,000-foot view, but it's to streamline processes, to take the advantage of artificial intelligence. And the avatar speaks, and down the road, we can actually add on other languages as well to help Spanish, etc. So we customize the application, much like we trained the avatar in the A, much like you would train staff. But instead of putting staff on the front line, helping these people, the avatar gives them that personal interaction, trust, empathy. People a lot of times are scared when they come to court. So it kind of builds some trust and empathy and helps with the whole process.
Very good. So I think what I hear you saying is, once we're through our dispensation here of COVID, that there'll still be use for this even after that.
Yes, absolutely. Right, Montrella?
Yes, that's correct. And the nice thing is because we offer so many different types of languages, it has those capabilities as well. And it's a whole platform. So you can not only have the kiosk, you can have a laptop, you can have a cell phone setup added to it. So it's very flexible. We reviewed several vendors. It's been a good 8-9 months that we've been reviewing everything. And this checked out everything on our list, on our checklist.
Good. We'll open it up. Any questions from committee members? You could verbally, if you could visually raise your hand.
Oh, I
Yes,
raised.
Ms. Amobian?
I understand all this technology, Mr. Freeman, I tell you. Just curious. So you walk into the front of the Harold K. Stubbs building, which is where you're currently located. Is this what we're talking about, Montrella?
So we're still working
And
the exact location, yes.
oh, the location hasn't been determined yet.
From a court security standpoint as well.
So how many people are you thinking about being able to process through something like this within 30 minutes, an hour, whatever? Because it sounds like you could have a whole line of folks.
Well, so what we see now with the limited traffic, when we were having in-person on site, maybe 5, 6, 7 people lining up at a time, we've rerouted all of our cases to the mezzanine floor. So there is an overflow space there. But the goal with the main kiosk is from my understanding, is that you want to limit the amount of time that they're at that main kiosk. And that's why additional self-service stations will be set up for longer type of activity. But, I don't think it would be longer than a minute. I can't remember the exact time frame, a minute, 2 minutes, if that, at the main kiosk.
Is it like going to the airport where you have these different stations you can go to and do what you need to do? It's similar to that?
Yes. So it would have to be very quick. And then anything that would take longer than that, they would need to be stationed or positioned at a location where they have a chair and like a little, cubicle.
Yeah, it'll be a smaller kiosk. So the first kiosk is just to address the questions, sort it out, and then send them in the proper direction. And then should you need to scale this, you could add more of these smaller stations, which could be something as simple as a computer. So it's, and in the future, you could even put one of these at a public library and they don't even have to go to the courthouse. So it all
Oh.
scales on this platform.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Fusco.
I think Mr. Malik had his hand up before me.
Oh, okay. I apologize. Mr. Malik.
Thank you, sir. I was going to defer to Mr. Fusco because I always appreciate his questions, but I'll go ahead. Ms. Jackson, thank you so much for bringing this. I think this is a great idea. I remember one of the recent times I was in the Stubbs building. There were actually the two people in front of me at the security desk were both asking questions and were kind of confused as to where they're supposed to go, and I think ended up like leaving the building. And so I know that oftentimes streamlining that process is really helpful. So I think this is great. Just quickly, a couple of thoughts that came to mind. Do we know, like, what specific things would people be doing? Like, are they checking their court dates? Are they paying fines or fees? Like, what specific kinds of things would folks use? And then two, is there any kind of thought, if it is some of the specific things, is there some way of having some kind of privacy or protecting those details, or is there a keyboard where there can just be a print or readout on the screen? Or that's what popped up in my head.
Those are very good questions. The first, so we know in our traffic court area, a lot of people come through, unless they have something scheduled on the docket, they're not able to get into the floors, into the building. And so they may simply need a form to fill it out and leave it with the clerk to get on the docket or the schedule. So it would be those types of things where court security is kind of having the triage, what people need. And we also have in the budget from the grant, the ability to pay for printouts for form for paper. And so that will be part of the function, is that will be available to them. On the other question, Paul probably has a little bit more detail than me, so I can kind of expand on what he adds there.
Right. Thanks, Mantrella. So yes, following up on what Mantrella said, at these self-service stations, they're going to be connected to a printer and scanner. So we'll be working through on all the forms and motions, as I understand it, for evictions as well. On the privacy level, on the top, the main kiosk, that's going to be at a 60-degree angle, and nothing private's going to be on that. That's going to be more directional wayfinding, telling you exactly what to do. When you go, right, and again, it's going to be an agile process, so we may move the self-service stations and kiosks to wherever we find out mutually is the best traffic flow and handles the best amount of people safely. The smaller kiosk stations, the tilt of the screen is going to be a much lower. And so the person that's going to be using it, first of all, they're going to be spread apart from each other. And it's more or less you're looking down. So the person will be looking down. The keyboard is touch screen. And so you'd be touching it as well. So someone couldn't stand over a shoulder. They'd have to be right over the person's shoulder to be looking down. So the slant is in such a way that hopefully it'll give them the privacy. And primarily they're doing forms, etc. At the kiosk.
And most of our documents are public record. So when it comes to maybe more of the connect by video function, as we do more of that, we'll have to identify space. And, I do like the ability that we have the ability to expand offsite. We have some community partners that have already offered their locations for people to remote into the court.
Thank you both. That's really helpful.
Thank you. Looking around, any other comments or questions?
Yes.
Mr. Fusco.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Yeah, it's interesting. I heard talk about this 3 years ago. I'm glad that the court's moving into this direction. My question, though, is, Mr. McManus, I assume you guys have been at other locations, other courts. Where have you been before? Where are you located currently?
Sure. We're headquartered out of Stamford, Connecticut. The roots of our company is in robots and artificial intelligence with an emphasis on the whole communication with avatars, et cetera. So on the robot side of our business, we've worked with Shell, Canon, Mitsubishi's, and other, more or less on their event and marketing. As it relates to what we're talking about here, we have an installation in Ottawa, Michigan. Ottawa County, Michigan, at the big county administration building. We put a robot in their lobby. It's been there for over a year. And you approach the robot, and the robot's programmed to say, how can I help you? And they say, I'm here to pay a tax bill. Where do I get fingerprinted? I'm a teacher. The sheriff's office is in there. So that's been working for a good year now. And we made that, originally that was all touch and talk. And then since COVID, we've made that all touchless. So we work one-on-one with the people at IBM Watts, and we've been doing this for a while. Amazon, AWS services, again, with an emphasis on the communications. In Ottawa as well, now we're talking about connecting the robot and doing something very similar to what you're doing, but on a county level. And same thing, directing people, substations, printers, et cetera. And then on the court side, we working with the National Center of State Courts. Again, we did a robot pilot, more helping out with languages, because people were speaking different languages and the security guards may not have spoken those languages. And most recently, for the last year and a half, we've been working with the New Mexico judicial system. And we have a kiosk in their Santa Fe court. We're rolling out, we've actually built out the applications for 5 more courts, and then along came COVID. We've since then made those all touchless. And we're working with the same thing with the courts and documents and the court clerks. So that's our experience right now in this field.
That's great.
We're like the only ones doing it right now. So thank you.
Good. No, that's great. No, that especially, you know, the folks going to Akron Municipal Court, you know, oftentimes it is intimidating, I think, as Ms. Jackson had stated, and it is, sometimes they have, you know, representation, sometimes they don't. And so to make it easier for those that, you know, sometimes it's their first time. And so,
Right.
no, this is a wonderful idea. Just
And I do want to share, and you're welcome to talk to the people at Ottawa and New Mexico. We're a software company first, not a hardware company. We find the right hardware to meet the software application. And we do what's called an agile approach. So we don't build something out in a vacuum and deliver it. We build out what we think is the right product. And I will be at the Akron court, and I'll be sitting there watching people interact with it. And that'll be an interactive process. And then I'll be communicating back to my programmers and saying, okay, now I see we got to do this and we got to do that. So we're one of the few companies that specialize in what's called human computer interaction. And the best way to do it is live working with people. And so just the whole process gets better and better as you do it.
No, it's great. And I like the idea and the concept of partnering, like at the Akron, at the libraries, perhaps.
Right.
You know, where a lot of the folks that, you know, it might be easier for them to get to a library versus coming down initially, and they can learn about the, you know, what they have to do.
That's what we learned with Ottawa County. Their county courthouse is so far away from the city. And me, I'm a technology person. I'm new to the courts for the last 2 years now. It's fascinating. God bless you for everything you do to help your citizens. We've learned recently about equal access, the digital divide. And so that's what we're hearing more and more, is putting these other stations out there for the people that can't even afford a computer or don't even have a smartphone or can't even get an Uber ride to go to the courthouse. So that's kind of where we're seeing it.
For a couple of years, we've been talking about the same kind of thing. And so kudos to the judges for stepping forward and doing something about this. And I see there's partners involved as well, local partners. So
Yes.
this is
Thank you for finding us,
We're
Mattel.
excited. We're excited.
Yeah,
very good. Thank you. Thank you,
we
Mr.
are
Freeman.
too, and thankful.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. McManus. Any other questions or comments? Montrella, you have to be pretty excited about this, I would think.
I will tell you, when I I saw the product and everything checked off the list. And, it's really hard sometimes to find technology that's already been in courts. And that was key for us, because we've had a shortened time frame to roll this out. So.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So any other questions or comments? Is there a motion to suspend the rules on this and move forward?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, we'll see that that's passed out this evening. Mr. McManus, thank you very, very much. And
Look forward
best
to
to
meeting you
you.
all.
Best to you in the work that you're doing. Montrell, again, thank you so much for your work on this. And if there's nothing else to come
Thank you.
before us, we will adjourn at 3:22 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Paul. Take care, everyone.
You're welcome. Thank you.
This is our final committee meeting of the day. Thank you.